Hey everyone, Brandon here with Galway Precision. Today we're going to go over the installation of the Sky short stroke kit in the Sky CPX-3. These are finally shipping now, so we were able to get one in and test the parts. The short stroke kit does fit. We will be developing other parts for it as the frame is slightly smaller, the barrel's a little shorter, the guide rod and some other things are slightly different, and so we'll be developing the other parts as they go, but the short stroke kit does fit. Alright, so let's go over tools we're going to need. You need your bench block, you need some blue Loctite or some VC3, you need an 050 Allen wrench, you need your shepherd's crook hook, pick, whatever, 3/32 punch, your brass and polymer hammer. So let's go ahead and lock and clear. We are visually and physically empty, so let's go ahead and drop mag. I'm going to take our pick, pop out our takedown, and set the slide, barrel, and guide rod off to the side, but you can see what I mean. It's slightly different inside, a little bit shorter, and the guide rod is much easier to compress, which in a 380 you've got to, because it's a lower pressure round, which is why the current guide rod and spring we sell aren't going to work with this. Plus they're much smaller diameter than the 9mm. Alright, so set that off to the side. First thing we're going to do is flip our frame upside down. I'm going to grab our hook pick. We're going to unhook the hammer spring. Flip your bench block to the flat side. Take our 3/32 punch. I'm going to drive out the frame pins, going from left to right. These, now our particular one, there's no swedge side. There's no knurling or anything. Honestly, they can go out left to right, right to left. It doesn't really matter on the CPX-3. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and push the chassis up out of the grip frame. I'm going to set the grip frame off to the side. Go ahead and disengage your trigger bar. Now, I like this design change a whole lot better than the CPX-1 and 2. As you can see, they've changed the trigger bar slightly. Alright. They've gotten rid of the goofy spot in there that you got to hook it into, and instead have just made milled a pocket into the side where that part of the trigger return spring will sit, instead of having to try and worm it into the trigger bar, get it on. Much easier. I like it much better. So take your trigger bar out. Go ahead and push your trigger pivot out, so we can go ahead and remove the trigger. Now if it sticks, you don't need to beat on it, just give it a good hard tap and it'll pop right out. Now, just like the CPX-1 and 2, make sure that you do not lose this little pin right here. This cross pin holds the trigger return spring in the proper place, and plus it's very tiny and hard to find if you lose it, so make sure that stays in there. Alright, we're going to take our 3/32 punch. Go ahead and take your stock trigger out as well. We're going to put it on from the right side. Alright, you'll notice on this, when we go to put it back together, the left side hole is much more wide than the right side hole of the hammer spring seat. Alright, now this should only take some good downward pressure. I mean, if you have a hard time getting it past, just give it a couple taps. And you only need to get it far enough to where you can get the spring unhooked, alright, from inside. So then we're going to go take our 3/32, we're going to push out our hammer pin, pull the hammer out through the top. Alright, there's your stock hammer. Here's your new short stroke hammer. Notice the exact same springs, okay? Even has the same curl at the end, same weight and all. So we're going to take that hammer and drop it in. You need to make sure that the angle cut goes forward. Because of the design of the hammer, the angle goes forward, not the flat piece. Go ahead and take your hammer pin, get everything lined back up, and go ahead and reinsert. We're going to take our hammer spring seat, go ahead and put it on, get it lined up. Now I like to get it started by pushing it down on the bench block, driving it the rest of the way home with the polymer hammer, and so we don't go out the other side and accidentally open up that hole. We're just gonna give it 1-2 taps, make sure that it seats a little bit past the hole, but we don't hit it so hard it comes out the other side. See, it's got a good hold of it. So now we're going to take our trigger. Now this one I have already, during the testing part, had applied Loctite to. But what you'll do is you'll obviously remove your pre and post travel screws and apply blue Loctite. At this point, if you're using VC3, go ahead and apply the VC3. Pause the video for about 15-20 minutes. That's how long it takes for the VC3 to cure, and then come back and go ahead and finish the installation. So to start with, on the CPX-3, what I found is I like to start with the post-travel trigger set screw pretty far out. Same for pretty much the pre-travel. Say about that far, you should be good to go. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and put our pivot back in. Now do keep in mind, all these guns have different tolerances. No one ever wants to believe me. That's fine. You don't have to. But I do this every day for a living. These are all made from castings for the most part, and plastic injection molding. You're going to have shrink and expand inside these forms because they're cranking these bad boys out a lot. So this is just a baseline to start with. Yours is probably going to be very different. Plus, we're going to adjust it all out to get as much of the pre and post travel adjusted out as possible. Go ahead and take your gun oil and just a nice light coat in the trigger bar channel. Don't need a lot. Don't put grease. These guns don't need to be greased. They need a light coat of oil, and that's it. Now, see how much easier that is to put that trigger bar in? That's why I love that. I'm hoping this is a design feature they integrate into the later models of the 1 and 2. So now our chassis is put back together. Just like the 1 or the 2, I like to take it at the 90-degree angle first and then turn it once it's in. I like to seat it all the way down. We're going to make sure that everything's set up right. Go ahead, and we haven't sprung it yet, so you're not going to have tension. It's not going to move back and forth, but the hammer should move when you pull the trigger. And take our crook pick. Get that pulled back up in and seated. Alright, so you can see everything's moving the way it should. Notice I've got it out far enough that it stops hammering. That's what you want anyway. But like I said, yours may vary from this one. So we'll get into that in a minute. But we see the hammer moving, so everything's good to go. Let's go ahead and put our pins, our frame pins back in. Flip to the polymer side of your hammer or your polymer hammer if you don't have a combo. Drive those pins home. And we're ready to reassemble and adjust our trigger and then function test. So, great thing about the Sky, we all know what pistol this was designed off of originally, but the biggest problem you ran into with that particular brand pistol is you go to rack the slide and you didn't have as much free movement of the barrel. And so it took a lot to get it all lined up. There's 2 ways to go about doing this. You can do it the way I just did. Pull the barrel back up to where the lug's lined up correctly and put your takedown in. Or, when you go to put it together, hold the pistol up and down. Rack it to the rear. The barrel will stay forward. Get it lined up. Put your takedown in. Drop the slide. Alright, so now that we have the slide on and it's pushing down on the trigger bar the way it should, you can see that we are getting a correct pull. But if we adjust just a little more to the post travel, the hammer is going to stop falling. And that's what you want. You want to adjust this out until the hammer falls, or correction, stops falling. Now I gotta really squeeze it here to get the hammer to fall. So right when you get to that point where you either gotta give it a whole lot of pressure, or you gotta wiggle it around, or it just doesn't move at all, you're ready to start backing it off 1/4 turn at a time. Once that hammer falls, without hesitation, give it one more 1/4 turn counterclockwise, and it is set. Your post-travel set, you're ready to go. Now for pre-travel, what we're going to do is we're going to pull the trigger to the rear. I'm going to back the pre-travel out until we don't get proper reset. Now, I usually like to start because I've noticed in the 3 there's a lot more pre and post travel that we can play with once it's short stroked, which is a good thing. You can really tune this a lot better than the one in the 2. Again, why I hope they integrate a lot of the changes they made to the 3 trigger bar and things like that into the 1 and 2 series. Alright, I'd go dig through, grab another 050. This one's too rounded off and shot. As you can see, it's starting to turn inside the screw. And grab me a new one. Go through a lot of tools around here. Alright, let's rack the slide. Alright, so now we have no reset, which is what we're looking for. Let's go ahead and take your 050 and 1/4 turn at a time until you get reset. Once you get reset, give it one more clockwise turn, 1/4 inch, and you're set. I mean, it pulls a whole lot out of this, guys. I mean, the CPX-3, other thing I like about it too is it does come in a totally different tangent, but it comes with 3 mags straight out of the box. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, if you've got hand issues or arthritis in your fingers, getting the 10th round in these 10-round magazines is a bear. Alright, so you're gonna want to get a mag looler or something to help you load it up. But outside of that, I've been pretty impressed with this little guy. Shot it. Shoots real flat and straight, being low pressure 380. Not surprising that it shoots real flat and straight. But the short stroke kit makes a huge difference. Shortens the overall stroke by probably about 25 to 30%, depending on the tolerances of your particular pistol, of course. As always, take your stock parts, put them back in your baggie. Keep your stock parts. Why do we keep our stock parts? Manufacturers do not return aftermarket parts. They will return the gun to stock, send it back to you if you have to send it in for warranty work. So always keep your stock parts. All in all, not a bad little pistol. It's growing on me. The original CPX 1 and 2 I've liked. They make, they're the right price. They make a great carrier car gun. But this little thing, I really like this one. And plus, with the ability to carry 30 rounds around with it, that's kind of a big deal because it does come with 3 10-round mags. So, pretty impressed with it, guys. Definitely worth looking into if you own it. Definitely worth the upgrade to get it running good and proper. And that's going to wrap this one up, guys. Short, straightforward install. We'll go in and get some shooting footage here momentarily and have it at the end of the video as well. And let you see. And it does indeed run like a scalded dog. So that's going to wrap it up. If you guys got any questions, feel free to email me at tech, that's Tango Echo Charlie Hotel at GallowayPrecision.com. Be sure to follow us on social media here on YouTube. Like, comment, and subscribe below. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Gunstreamer, and Vimeo as well. And as always, be safe, be accurate, and God bless.